There are a few things that are quite as difficult to model in SOLIDWORKS as organic shapes. Recent versions of SOLIDWORKS have seen some new tools added, which makes some of this work a little bit easier. The freeform feature is one of these new tools, and I'll be making use of it here as I create the leaves around the candle holder. In the layout sketch, we saw that the intent for the part is that a pattern of leaves go around the perimeter of the top of the revolved base. To accomplish this, I'll first create a single leaf, mirror it, and pattern the original and the mirror. The leaf shape will be created using a lofted surface that will be given some shape with the freeform feature. It'll then be trimmed to the correct outline and given thickness. Veins will be added in a later step using lofts along 3D splines. Let's walk through these tasks step by step. I'll start by making an arc on the top face of the revolved base. I'll use a construction line and an angular dimension to define the arc. It'll span about 55 degrees. I'll then create a new plane offset from the top plane by 5.5 inches. On the new plane, I'll sketch a line a bit wider than the arc below and slightly angled. We're in the process of creating an organic shape, so I don't want to add relations and dimensions unless they're absolutely necessary. Once the two sketches are in place, I'll add a lofted surface connecting the arc and the line. All I'm doing here is creating a four-sided surface that will act as the raw material for the freeform and trim features. Just to make sure the surface is long enough for the next few steps, I'll use the Extend Surface feature to extend the surface down into the revolved base by 1/10 of an inch. Now I'm ready to use the Freeform feature to give the simple loft some shape. The Freeform feature can be found on the Surface toolbar, or activated from the menus at Insert, Surface, Freeform. I'll begin by selecting the lofted surface in the Face selection box. Note that this feature can only be applied to a single face, either surface or solid. The Freeform feature allows you to deform a face by pushing and pulling either points or control polygons. I'll be using the points option, but before I can access the control points, I first have to define control curves. I'll click the Add Curves button in the Property Manager, and then move the pointer over the surface. The line following the pointer is a preview of a control curve. I'll click the face in 3 places to add 3 control curves. I also want to add a couple of curves in the other direction. To do this, I'll click the Tab key on the keyboard. This toggles the direction so I can add 2 more curves. With the control curves in place, I'll move on to adding the control points along the curves. To do this, I'll click the Add Points button in the Property Manager. As I click the control curves, I'm generating control points. After adding the points I need, I can press the Add Points button again. This allows me to now click and drag the points to deform the surface. Moving these points can be a bit tricky. Like manipulating a 3D sketch point, it's difficult to tell just how far each point is moving in any direction. For this reason, it's recommended that a more structured method be used to move the points. One such method is to use the Triad Direction spin boxes in the Property Manager. Another is to drag one of the axes directly on the triad that appears when a point is selected. The triad can be aligned in 4 ways. Global means that the triad is aligned to the X, Y, and Z axes of the part. Surface means that the triad is aligned tangent to the surface at the control point. Curve means the triad is tangent to the curve. The last option is to align the triad to something else, such as a plane. To use this option, right-click on the triad axes and select Align to, and then select the entity you want to align the axis to. There's no dialog or prompt for this function. It's only available from the right mouse button menu, and it overrides whatever option is selected in the Property Manager. As you're deforming the surface, if you find you need more control points, you can always click Add Points, or you can remove points by right-clicking on them and selecting Delete. With the face deformed, I'll click OK to complete the freeform feature.